Welcome back. The growing rivalry between David and Jordan reached a whole new level in last night's episode of The Bachelorette. But is Jordan actually there for the right reasons? Well, Leslie from The Groove is here not only to discuss that, but the rest of the dramatic episode.
Well, it's all about Tinder for Jordan. But anyway,
oh my gosh.
But first, let's get into the most dramatic part. Was all of us here in Tucson, and I think in the West Coast, missed the first half hour. We missed the first group date. I thought it was my DVR.
No, it was breaking news. I mean, obviously a big news event happened last night. So we missed the first group date, but we imagine it went pretty well.
It did. It was a group date where the men went to a spa, actually, and got to see some old contestants from last season, including Tia, who now Colton was on this group date. Now we know that Colton and Tia have dated before the show started. So talk about awkward. That's what I called this episode. Very awkward episode, because can you imagine walking in and seeing the woman that you dated and you're now with the new girl? Like, awkward.
Extraordinarily awkward. I think Colton handled it well, though.
Yes.
He hugged her. He acknowledged her existence. And it could have gone worse.
And Tia and Becca went behind this, around the corner to talk. And I guess that she admitted that they have kissed, and they kind of never really labeled themselves, but he was upfront with her as well, Tia, and said, hey, just so you know, I applied for this show already, but she was thinking the odds of you getting on are not going to be that big. And she said, we ultimately figured no matter what, we'd be friends because, he lives in Denver, I live in Alabama, so it would be long distance anyway and be pretty tough. So it sounds like she seems to be okay with Becca going forward with him, but I think Becca's still in that, I'm not quite sure yet.
Right, at that point she was.
Exactly.
Later on we'll discover that she had a change of heart, but the video that we were just watching is where Becca forgets Jason's name. How
that's right.
awkward was that?
Again,
I felt
awkward.
So bad for him.
Your guy dating, but I don't remember your name. Yeah, you're going to stick around.
And the rest of the guys are like, ooh.
No, that's an ego burst, man. Pop a balloon.
Something that's popping the balloon, too, is 4,000 Tinder matches for Jordan.
I'd be so proud to say that. Yeah, he's very proud, Jordan, the male model, as he constantly is telling us all. Yeah. Talked about 4,000 Tinder matches, which then David is like, all right, this guy is not here for the right reasons, which I agree with him, but like, they are just spatting. So, of course, David goes right to Becca and tells her he's not here for the right reasons. He's bragging about 4,000 matches. And I love Becca's response, because she comes back out to the guys and she's like, 4,000 matches, high five. And he was so flustered at first. It was hilarious to watch that. But, of course, he ran right to her and said, oh, wait, no, it's...
And that part for me, he looked so nervous and a little bit weak, kind of like a tattletale. I don't know. I think he's kind of friend-zoned at this point, too.
Yes, I agree.
He's going to get there if he's going to be this sort of sensitive about it.
Well, and then in between that, Becca has a conversation with Colton. And he says right away, because she asked him, seeing Tia, did it bring up anything? And he's like, no. That's in the past. I'm here for you. And I think that's kind of, again, what she needed was more reassurance, because she was all up on him. And she gave him the group date rose.
A big investment, I think, in Colton. I mean, especially after what they've been through and in front of all the other guys, too. They're like, wait, what just happened?
I love Jordan's face. And Jordan actually, afterwards, was kind of giving some weird foreshadowing threats about David. People that mess with me, it's karma. They tend to get hurt. And I'm like... Really? Wow. Because, you see some, you're thinking, oh my God, what happens? Did he do something to him? That's what you think automatically.
My favorite line that Jordan said about, I'm forgetting his name now, David, is Jordan said, I should be paying rent in this guy. He is, I'm in his mind so much that I should be paying rent. It's a big rivalry.
And something happens later, which we'll talk about, but first we go on a one-on-one date, and it's Chris. Talk about what a cool experience. They go to Capitol Records, walk into a recording studio, and Richard Marx is there playing the piano and basically says, I'm going to help you guys write your love song. And explain, talks to them about opening up and your heart and your mind and writing down your feelings. And literally, that's what he does. It's tough for Chris, though. He admits that it's hard for him to open up, and we find out later. Yes, he's had some experiences in the past with his childhood, but he opens up thanks to Becca, helping him out. And then they put it down on words, and Richard Marx starts playing the guitar and singing the lyrics. I was like, that is so cool. I don't know, even if you don't like Richard Marx, but still, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I didn't like Chris at first.
Yeah.
But he has grown on me, and for me personally now, he is the front runner.
Wow.
Because he came out of his shell, he became more vulnerable. which actually worked to his advantage, not to be so vulnerable at first, because then she sees it. He's willing to
because
open
he
up.
opened up about what happened. His father left him when he was young. 5 years ago, he wrote him a letter saying all the things he was feeling, never got a response. And that had totally crushed him. And her seeing that really got her connected with him, and she ends up giving him the rose.
So there they are doing their slow dance to Richard Marx. The producers cut to an ambulance scene.
Yes, with David being taken out on a stretcher, and the guy is looking very concerned. And they were saying, literally, they woke up to him crushed over, blood everywhere.
And it thudded across the house, too.
Yes, and like they don't know if he's going to be okay or not. And then you shoot to the next morning when the guys are talking about, all I saw was all this blood, and Chris Harrison goes over to Becca, and the way he does it, the producers are so good at editing. He says there was an incident at the house last night. One of the guys was hurt bad. He busted his nose, his face, and he's in intensive care. So like you're like, oh my God, and she's like, who did this to him?
Right.
Well, he did it to himself, because we find out quickly he fell out of the bunk bed right into his face on the floor.
And that's what he says on the phone. He says, I'm used to a king bed or queen bed or whatever he said. I'm not used to sleeping in a single. And I guess that happens. And then you see Jordan installing the guardrail after. What was up with that?
I know. And again, he foreshadowed that something could happen because he was messing with Jordan. Oh my gosh. So everything's good with that, at least. And so we go on to the second group date, which is football. And Clay, who is a football player, a pro football player, is in his element. But I got to say, like, he didn't rub it in. I thought he did great, like kind of playing down to the level.
Heart of gold, that guy.
Really sweet guy. And then at the end, he wanted to win, so he, like, does some stuff. But the very last play, he hurts his wrist, and he has to go to the hospital, second hospital visit by people on that show last night. Now, that concerned me because I'm thinking, that's your career on the line here. And so we didn't know how bad it was. We didn't think he was going to come to the cocktail party that night. And
he ended up coming back.
He ended up coming back. He found out, he said he will find out the next day whether he has to have surgery. That's how bad it is. They connect, though. Becca and him really connected, and she ended up giving him the group date rose. They were fine, and they're getting somewhere.
Right. And of course, we see that he decided to head on home. I mean, he had to go get the surgery done, which meant he couldn't be part of the season. He made the tough decision that he had to make for his career. And we didn't get a rose ceremony. It's to be continued. But Leslie, as always, wonderful job recapping it. Can't wait to see what happens next week. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Now, don't miss the next episode of The Bachelorette on KGUN 9 next Monday, 7 p.m. Then tune into The Blend on Tuesday for a recap, and visit 1063thegroove.com to read Leslie's blog. Still to come, Jim Ferguson shares a first look at the movie Tag and his interview with two familiar faces. Stay tuned.